Hello everybody and welcome back to Middle-earth. This is Count MRVHS with another episode of our 4th Age Total War Dwarves campaign, and this is the siege for Dunland. We are under siege, of course, and I have pulled back my garrison into this noob box formation right in the city plaza because, as predicted, we have 3 armies here, only one of which on the campaign map was shown to be building siege equipment, but sure enough, when that one army assaulted, the other 2, which were just standing nearby, magically developed rams of their own. So had I only had one army to face, I would definitely have been facing them at that gate. But I didn't want to have to split up my forces to prevent these other armies from sneaking in and stealing the town square. I did fortunately see that the walls and the towers do a fair amount of damage. You can see that there are some good losses going in here for the ladders. And quite the coup here, actually, on the siege tower, which was destroyed, killing, it looks like, all or most of these axes of the wolf. And these are a two-handed axe unit with, of course, armor-piercing weapons. So that would have been a pretty damaging unit to get close. Now, we have the armies closing in here, so I'll just resume the battle at this point. I have a decent strength unit of blunderbusses here. With a general unit right nearby, a family member at least, not the general, that would be this guy here, Frar. We've got some dwarven axes, long axes over here to cover these corners, some warhammers, we've got archers, another unit of Durin's Guard. But the big problem here is going to be the missile fire. We are going to just have to stand here and take a lot of it. And while I'm thinking of this, put everyone on guard mode. I've had some very good advice from people, on the channel about using guard mode, which is something I always forget to do. So now we're going to try it out here. The idea is that this helps. Well, maybe we'll try it out. The idea is that guard mode helps your men retain their stamina levels or fatigue levels, so they won't get tired out as easily while the enemy is throwing themselves at your guys. And we're starting to see the throwing spears coming in. Thankfully, they seem to be aimed at my my Durin's Guard unit, which is going to withstand it. These blunderbusses are not going to do too well under missile fire. And I do have to be ready to run in this unit of Durin's Guard. You can see they are taking some losses already. Lost about 6 of the blunderbuss units, but they are pretty effective here. Now it looks like the large army, which did come through this gate, split up. So they've got one significant chunk coming from my left, let's say, or what would this be, the south? And it's quite a smaller portion coming from the west entrance. And then really we've got the smallest group coming from the north. And these horsemen are doing just what I want them to do, which is, of course, get engaged in melee. And the Durin's Guard should really have no trouble cutting through any of these units. Seeing they're fighting bowmen right now. They're fighting the horsemen, which are quite weak in melee. What else we got coming? More horsemen and bowmen. These are just axemen. Some tribal spearmen, some more horsemen. So nothing too serious. I could take these 2 units of Durin's Guard and probably just plow them through that line and be pretty good. One thing we haven't seen a lot lately is actual family members from Dunland. And we don't have any in this battle either. It's all horsemen captains leading the fight.
The enemy warlord flees from our warriors. Attack and drive them back in the same way.
I don't know that we've lost any of these long axes, so could be due to guard mode. I'm not sure how effective that is, but I'm inclined to keep it as it is. We're doing quite well. The bodyguard for Dunland is an axe unit, infantry. Pretty interesting. I really like the factions that have infantry bodyguard units, and as such, they are effective against armor. So if Dunland could scrape together a few of those bodyguard types, they would probably be, giving me a bit more pressure in some ways. I'm sure that I could beat them, of course. They wouldn't stand much of a chance against my own dwarven units, I would think. But they would do more damage to me along the way, so. Alright, they seem to be throwing in their troops quite readily, which is great. The thing that I was worried about was that they would just stand off and throw spears, shoot arrows at me from pretty much every direction, and then I wouldn't be able to answer that fire. I'd get withered down and then charged. So that seems not to be really happening. And of course, since they failed to capture the towers, okay, there goes the general. You can see this trail of destruction they've left, just marching along as the AI does. It all balances out, right? The AI does foolish things like this without capturing any of the towers. But then again, they get these cheaty rams whenever they assault a place, even if they didn't build them. So, I guess it all evens out. At this point, I think I could take my men off guard mode. Because over here we've got we've got a nice route. Did we lose all of our blunderbusses though? Yeah, it looks like it. So
flee from the field like frightened goats, hunt them down and slay them all.
We do have some more coming. Getting retrained, I think. But it might be difficult to get them over here from the fort. We'll see. I suppose I could have done this differently. One thought I had was, since the large army was positioned out here, to set up most of my men right here along the walls or just inside the gate, and just plug this hole essentially. And then I would leave probably the two of these family members in the plaza alone to hold off these two armies coming from those two gates. And that may have worked. The problem is that I saw this army with ladders, as you see here, the ladders made it to the walls, as well as a siege tower, which ultimately didn't make it. But that would have required me to spread out my defenses, and as you can see, I just did not have a lot of men available. And, again, also pulling back to the center means that the AI is going to be under fire from all of these towers along the wall. They're going to get themselves tired out as they march to the center, so that just seemed to be the better option. If we can get everyone to rout at the same time, they got some bowmen down here that are going to be stubborn though. I think as soon as they go, we'll be done. Great.
This is no longer a battle. This is a hunt. No.
Yeah, I'll just end the battle. They would just run away. So this is a heroic victory. more losses than I would like, but you know, we killed a ridiculous amount compared to our numbers, so that's pretty good. The blunderbuss loss is a sad one. I don't know what I could have done to protect them. And what is this? A spy? A scout? Okay, they don't have too much else coming at me. That's great, because they're not going to put me under siege this turn. I can finally complete this building, which is provincial pacification. So that's going to help just a little bit with the public order and with the growth, and allow me to get on to the next phase of building there. Okay, so we lost a scout who was hanging around here, apparently. And let's just go ahead and train another one. We got some new court members. That's great. And the Frar picked up a Dunlandish trader. Awesome. This Dunlanding has no shame. He has the honor of a dog. +2 command versus barbarians. So this is going to be effective against, of course, Dunlandings, but also if this general were to end up fighting against Rhun, North Rhun, or Khand, they all, I believe, have the barbarian culture. I'm not 100% sure about Khand. We made a few changes to them in the latest version. I think all we did was added some Haradrian buildings to them. I don't believe we changed their culture type. But in any case, it's very unlikely that this Dunlandish trader is going to see any action in the Far East, but it's kind of neat. Alright, and... oh, where was this? Uncovered an agent of the Elven Realm has been hunted down and slain outside or inside Hollowbold. Well, good. We lost a bit of money in the last turn. Okay, so this is something that I'm worried about here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large stacks of Tharbad, possibly full stacks. Even though the numbers here are quite small. Now, this does not look very worrisome. It looks like they've got a lot of very low-tier spearmen that they train from their outlying settlements. But they do have some things that will give us some trouble, most notably their archers and longbowmen in particular. And they have some siege equipment. And of course, our dwarven units are going to have a hard time getting in range of that. Also, they have Ariador scouts, which are going to be a real problem for us. Again, getting in close with the missile troops is always a challenge. The other thing about Tharbad's units is they tend to have a large unit size, so these Axemen of Tharbad perform surprisingly well. I always find it funny that their abilities at a glance is completely blank. You would think that they are, incredibly ineffective, but they stand up to some punishment. If you've ever played as Tharbad, you can rely on these pretty well. So those are a unit to kind of put through the meat grinder, and then we've got the Tharbad pikemen, which are tougher, notably, in terms of defense. And so these are going to be some stubborn units if and when we end up at war. Well, right now, we're not at war with them, we're allied with them, and I'm thinking these troops are pointed at Dunland. What am I? Tharbad. So they're not at war with Dunland, but there's definitely fortifying that border. And of course, I do want to get this. And the concern is that once I take this settlement, that will bring my border right up next to theirs. So that may be the moment at which they decide to go to war, especially if they keep having trouble in the north making progress. All right, so we are looking at 16,000 for income this turn. Now, this is a settlement that we could take. I may just let this fall. We're not going to be able to hold it because I'm quite sure the unrest is going to be too hard to deal with. But I'm not too worried at this point about the Reunited Kingdom attacking me. They seem to be just in a hunker down mode. They don't have any field armies. One is in just a camp here, and they're making no moves against the Dunabar anymore. They're not doing anything on these borders. So I do share a border with them at Fornost. I think if this falls, I don't know that that's going to get them to attack me. Now maybe if I completely box them in by taking this settlement as well, but I'm not too worried about that. All right, we're working on vaults here. The Mountain Hold of Graham is doing well, and we're up to 60% unrest. We don't have a very large garrison here, but as you can see, the garrison is not the problem. Garrison 80%. That's as high as you can get in terms of public order. So we're going to get looks like a 5% boost next turn from just this unrest going away, and this may continue. The thing that's going to be a problem is we're going to experience a lot of unrest once we finish building the walls. So this is kind of like an alignment building, but we'll see. Now maybe we have to move the capital here. I honestly don't think that's going to make much of a difference. Actually, it will. Distance to capital is 45%. Let's see. Our capital now is what? Is it Dwarves? Ostenethel. All right, we may want to consider moving this. All right, so 16,586. Let's see what our income does. All right, that improved our income. Let's see if it did anything for unrest. Okay, that actually helped quite a bit. My only concern is maybe out here. No, that's a lot better. Okay, so this makes me feel good about my prospect of holding Gundabad. Now, given that we've got all we need for the garrison, I could theoretically take out this army. The only problem is what I would do with them. I guess an argument could be made that I could take Northern Hold as well. Maybe that's something to work on a bit later, but I don't feel a need right now. As we saw earlier, we could not hold Angmar anyway. We're likely to suffer unrest here in the Northern Hold as well. And I just don't see much benefit from having it at this moment. If we really needed this army to be over here, then maybe, but it's a small army anyway. So that's like long-term goals. Elsewhere in terms of building, let's actually take a cruise down to Dunkreok. Okay, so we do need to wait one more season for this. Let's pop out and see if there's any mercs. And there are. We will absolutely take these. All right, now who is going to be the governor? Oh, okay, the governor is Frar of Rhun. He's a poor governor. Well, that's better than incompetent, although adept would be nice. But let's just keep it that way for now. So we can't do any more building. We did retrain a unit of blunderbusses, and we can get them up here, no problem. Great. Let's do that. Now, it's going to be a long time before we can train another unit. But let's do this. Let's send our beat-up unit back to the fort. They all died in battle, but some of them recovered since we won. And we don't have enough population to retrain them, but maybe in a few turns we will. So good. I feel good about that. Dwarves, nothing I really want to build here. High Pass Stronghold. This is a place that I want. They've got one turn left to surrender. I think I'm inclined to just hold out and wait for that to fall. We may get attacked again by this army here, but that's okay. Or Dengrin we're able to build. Now, the population is still very low here, so there's no point in building control posts just yet. But if we go with trade houses, we get a tiny amount of income. This is not going to be a super productive settlement, at least in terms of trade. That's a bit better. But let's go with the minor province. The higher up we build with those main buildings, I think the better. Erebor, not really doing anything here. Whereas Doom is good. So, we last episode saw that, I think this was under siege. Maybe not. But it's not now. And it looks like Rovanian is aimed in that direction. And Dorwinian does have a settlement here still. So, Rovanian may take a little while before they turn on us. But we do have our army that's headed towards Tham. So I think what we'll do, let's send this scout around. I want to check out the north. It doesn't look like there's any armies on the way. And let's head down to the south. And I just see this one. It's a very small 3-unit army. Now, if we besiege the settlement, they will be able to attack us. But here we're getting some interesting mercs. Now, Variag mercenaries are, effective against armor, two-handed, axe, well defended, good attack, good morale, fast moving. So a good unit for us. Not so much because of their armor or armor piercing, but for their speed. It's nice to have a relatively swift flanking unit. But I don't think we need to spend the money on them. They're very expensive. Twice the upkeep of our Dwarven axe throwers. Mercenary slingers would be a better bet, I think. But let's wait and maybe buy them once we besiege Tham. I think what we're going to do here is let's buy up these mercenaries and let's besiege Tham. And what we will do is at the next episode we will just assault, I think, because we do have Dwarven siege ballistas. So let's start this assault just to see what this battle is going to look like. The heir is Fand of Tham. He's seasoned. You can tell by the gray goatee there. And we are outnumbered, but not outmatched at all. They've got very little ranged. They've got, one of their ranged units is this general's bodyguard. He's a cavalry javelin/sword unit. Otherwise, they've got some archers and they've got some skirmishers, and that's it. So we can batter the gates and make holes in the walls with our siege ballistas, and then send our melee troops in to destroy these guys. So I think that's what we will do with the next episode. So I'm looking forward to that and taking the capital of the Easterling. So thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I hope you join me in the next one. Take care.